Hey guys, Weep here. Welcome back to another video by VarietyMMOs. So in today's video we're going to be asking the question, should you play pso2? We're going to be covering 5 main questions to help you decide if this is indeed the game for you. The 5 questions that we're going to be talking about. Is pso2 an MMO/MMORPG? What do you spend most of your time in pso2 doing? Is there challenging content? Can I start on a fresh server? Can I play pso2 solo, or do I have to rely on others to play the game? So hopefully after answering these 5 questions, you'll have a solid idea of whether or not this game is indeed for you. Okay, so let's start with, is pso2 an MMORPG? Okay, so short answer is yes. It is a massive multiplayer online game, and it is a role-playing game. It is an MMORPG. However, it's not an open world MMORPG, which many people do get confused. So many people think that fighting a raid boss 100 against 1 is an MMORPG, which in actuality it's not. That is an open world MMO. So this is an MMORPG that's more lobby based or instant based, like PoE or Diablo 3. And you will be usually doing your content either solo, as a 4-man or a 12-man party. And the main thing you're going to be doing is you're going to be running around and grinding levels, grinding gear, grinding gold so you can buy outfits, and it's pretty much a MMO in the sense that it's a never-ending loot grinder. And you're going to be running around maps, generally with 4 other people, to acquire loot. There are bosses, which I will show a little bit later, where you can 12-man for more challenging content, and for a much more MMO-y feel than the grinding aspect, but it definitely has different aspects of the game to enjoy. So overall, it is an MMO with a lot of different things to offer, rather than an MMO that some people expect to have your hand held, and for example, hey, come here, level to 10, go there, level to 20, level to 50, and do a single dungeon at the end of the game. This game isn't like that, and it offers so much more. Okay, so what do you spend most of your time doing in pso2? So the first thing that you're going to be spending a lot of your time doing, as I just mentioned, is grinding. So if you open up your character menu, which is located down here, you'll notice that you have a lot of different classes. So this works much like Final Fantasy in the way that all of your classes can be played on a single character. Totally optional, but you can level them all up. And as you might imagine, they all have their own weapons and stuff that you gotta grind, and then you have to upgrade the weapons and various other things. Then you have armor that you need to upgrade to maximize your stats. So there is a lot of things to be doing when it comes to terms of leveling and grinding gear. Not only this, but the fact that the game's been out in Japan for so long, Japan is currently, I believe, level 95, where we're level 75. So there's a lot of level updates between us and them, which means there's a lot of future content, a lot of new gear to grind, and various other things to do. So you're not just going to hit max level and be like, well, I've completed the game, because there's many other things coming our way. So in Japan, there's much more challenging content, including PvP and various stronger PvE content, which hopefully will get pushed over to here, which would make the game much more challenging. Okay, so aside from the item grinding and leveling, the other thing that you'll be doing mainly is fighting bosses of various types. So when you see an emergency quest up here, you'll know that on the hour, there will be an emergency quest located in here. So as you'll notice with this one's called the mining base. So it's not the average boss. So usually it will involve defeating a bunch of waves to summon a boss and then fight the boss a single time. That's generally how the missions will work. However, as time goes by, they are introducing more varied types of content from Japan, which include other things from defending towers and time missions and collect points and various other missions to make it much more exciting than just fighting the same couple of bosses over and over. The boss fights in this game, assuming that you're not super overgeared and know the fights, are actually really awesome. They really are very awesome. And there's something that you're definitely going to want to check out at least once. If you go on a new server, which is 4, 5, and 6, which we'll talk about in a minute, nobody's going to have a pre-leveled character, so the fights are going to be incredibly difficult to begin with, and you're going to see a lot of wiping on the ground, which is going to be fun or frustrating depending on how you look at it. So we've activated the teleporter, and we're about to go into this mission just to show you what it looks like. This is one of the new ones that have just come over from Japan. So here we are. So basically you have these 4 big towers that you have to defend, and you're able to summon things. Like, for example, you're able to jump in a Gundam type machine. You're also able to use a particle cannon and various other things by using points that you acquire from collecting crystals and defeating monsters that come in waves and bosses. They'll corrupt your towers, destroy your towers, and do various other things. So as you can see, there's a lot of different type of emergency quests rather than just bosses. So it does keep it fresh, and honestly, it's a lot of fun, especially if you come in as like a guild of 6 people and try to do a 12-person event. It's very difficult and very interesting to do. Okay, so speaking of challenging content, the next question is there challenging content? So as you can see here, we are 5 out of 12 people. So 12 people can come in here, but you can make the content much more challenging by only bringing in 5. So pso2 is usually, not always, but usually less about can I clear the content and more about how quick can I clear the content. So think about Diablo 3. So it's less about, hey, I can clear floor 20. It's more about, hey, I can clear floor 20 in a minute. So it's more about the speed at what you're doing it, because you're trying to farm items to go higher. So the challenge comes down to trying to do it with less people and trying to do it more efficiently, rather than actually trying to be able to beat it itself, because anybody can beat a boss fight with 12 people in 30 minutes. But how many groups can defeat it in 10 minutes or 5 minutes? How many people can solo the content? So that's more of the challenging content when it comes to difficult stuff in pso2 right now. As I mentioned, I believe there is more challenging content in Japan, like the new content that just come out, and PvP, and challenges and stuff like that, which are much more difficult and will hopefully come to NA sometime soon. But right now they are not currently available. So there is challenging content if you kind of create it, but if you deliberately go out of your way and make everything easy mode, then of course it's not going to be a challenge. Okay, so next up, can I start on a fresh server? So we're going to abandon these people, but there's not many people in here anyway. So let's go to log out and go to ship selection. Okay, so the Xbox has been available for about 2 months now, I want to say. And as you imagine, there's a lot of try-hard people from Japan. And a lot of those have kind of accelerated the entire marketplace and everything else. So these 1, 2, and 3, their marketplaces have already been flooded with people that already know what they're doing, and a lot of high levels and everything else. If you are a new player, I would strongly suggest starting on 4, 5, or 6. So it's assumed that 4, 5, and 6 will update and become available when PC releases on the 27th. So if you are a PC user, I would strongly recommend joining one of these because they are new servers. And there are no server transfers currently in NA. So for example, somebody cannot take their high level character, all their items of ship 1 and put it on ship 4 to accelerate the market. The markets will be completely fresh, everyone will be level 1, it'll be basically a brand new MMO. Sure, some people have knowledge before you, but that's why you're watching this video, to gain that knowledge. So I believe that I'm probably going to be starting on a new server with all the PC players as well. I haven't completely decided which server, but I think joining a new server is important because it resets all the titles and achievements, like for example, guild titles that you get for being the top #1 guild and various other things. So definitely start on 4, 5, and 6 because it will give you a much better gameplay experience than 1, 2, or 3. I've personally seen some new players go into 1, 2, and 3, and high level players will basically grab them, take them into a party, and speed level them so much that they get out of the dungeon and they have no idea how to play the game because they've simply been carried to endgame and they get bored and quit. So I really don't recommend doing that. The only real downside to joining one of the new servers is currently on 1, 2, and 3, there's a lot of outfits that have been brought and go around a rotation, and they're already on the marketplace so you can buy them and look good. So they won't necessarily be available on 4, 5, and 6 initially. So that's really the only downside. Aside from that though, everything's a positive on the new ship experience, so make sure that you do join 4, 5, or 6. Okay, so can I play solo or do I have to rely on other people? So let's go back into ship 2, which is where I'm currently located. So I personally leveled my first character to level 75 solo, and I leveled my second character mostly solo in various different ways to try to find the best leveling experience for you guys. It was extremely painful, I'm not gonna lie. It took me numerous hours to level up my characters, and it was unbelievably inefficient. So, the answer to the question is yes, you can solo. This is a self-reliant game. You don't need a group, usually. That emergency quest that I showed you a moment ago, you do need 12 people in total. But you don't need friends or whatever else. You just go in and it auto-matches you with other people. You don't even have to talk to them. Just go in there and do the content. Kind of like you would for a LFR raid in World of Warcraft. Go in, do your content, get out. There is some things that will be sped up a lot by having a static group. For example, going into your missions and going into subquest, going into arc quest, and going to suppress Zul'Dan. Doing this quest will give you guild contribution really fast, and doing this for other people would be really helpful. Anything that you do in this game will be sped up by having a competent team. It's just, there's nothing you can get around it. It's an MMO. However, if you want to avoid other people and you don't mind taking longer or whatnot, yes, you can solo just about everything in the game except for the super mega end content up there, which you can just do in LFG for. I do suggest getting a guild because you do get advantages like 20% attack buff from their tree and various other stuff. So you really do get an advantage for being in a group, but you do not need a group to clear any of the content. So if you're a solo player, a casual player, or a group Munda player, you can play any of these classes to fit into any group and honestly have fun and take it at your own pace. Most people only get one class to 75 anyway, so while you might not be as strong as other people will gladly bring you along anyway. So if you're a solo player, feel free to try out the game. It's going to be a lot longer. It took me like 50 to 70 hours, I want to say, to level my first class to 75. Testing various ways, I admit, solo without really knowing what I was doing. And now with the group and knowing exactly what I'm doing, I can do multiple classes in a day. So there really is a big speed difference between solo and group friendly. Okay, so that covers everything for the 5 questions in this video. Hopefully these 5 questions will help you decide if pso2 is indeed the game for you. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.